SEA Today.
Alright, welcome back everyone to A's Online Virtual Classroom. This is your boy Andre bringing you SEA Today, our online series presented by A's Online Tutoring Services, exam success at your fingertips. So as we get further into our journey on the road to exam success, we are just 87 days away until SEA 2021. So if you haven't done it as yet, hit that subscribe button because we have so much more to come. We have so many videos to do and we have a lot of more work to cover still. Alright, so make sure that you are subscribed, you hit that like button, and to catch up with all our previous videos in our SEA Today series, make sure and hit that link above. Alright, that will take you to all our videos and you'll be able to catch up on our first 2 weeks of presentations for SEA Today 2021. Alright, so today we're going to get into some creative writing. Now, yesterday's episode we presented a creative writing that was done by some of our subscribers. It was a group effort by 3 students, and the name of that story is The Big Fight. So you can check out that story at the link above. That will take you straight to yesterday's SEA Today episode, and you'll get to see and read and enjoy that wonderful story. Today, however, we're going to go into it a little bit, break it down, because for you to get marks in creative writing, there's a couple things you have to do well. And one of the things that you have to focus on is content, right? So content is very important, and each paragraph requires us to have a particular amount or particular type of content. So we're going to get that story up on the board for a minute. Alright, so the story is called The Big Fight. So we're going to go through it paragraph by paragraph, and I'm just going to point out and highlight what content is needed for each paragraph. And we all know we only have a story to write this year, and it's 5 paragraphs. So as we know how it goes, make sure and get your pen and paper, because you may want to write down what content I need to put into each paragraph. And once you have gotten that, we can start. So when the timer starts, we'll begin. Alright, let's get it. So we're going to go to the story. I'm going to drop my background music. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it, but I have to make sure that I get some background noise. Alright, so you ready? Let's go. The Big Fight. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 is our introduction. And in our introduction, we want to make sure and describe 3 things. You can describe more than that, but if you cover these 3 points, you should be able to get the marks you're looking for. So we want to describe the time of the day that the story is taking place. We want to describe the main character, and we want to describe the setting that the story opens up into. Alright, so we're going to get into that first paragraph here now. Let's go. The sun beamed on Mother Earth, with power to its name as summer was growing. I, Noah, a dark in complexion boy, with hair as soft as silk and a voice as graceful as angels singing in harmony, was in my school cafeteria chowing down my overcooked and cheap food. As I was about to leave my food-filled table, my little sister Leah, who was in the infant class, dashed to me and said, "Noah, somebody is picking on me. Can you help me?" Wrath consumed my body, including my heart, as my baby sister was being picked on by someone. Alright, so that is paragraph 1. And before we go to paragraph 2, let's just analyze that a little bit. So within paragraph 1, what we're doing is we're describing the time of day. And if we go back in our story, we should be able to see that the first sentence said, the sun beamed on Mother Earth. When does that happen? So they're describing the time of day without directly saying it's 9 a.m., early in the morning, but they're using their parts of speech to describe what the day was like, right? So that was a perfect way to describe the time of day. You can get creative with it. It's creative writing, right? So as we go along, here they said, I, Noah, a darkened complexion boy with hair as soft as silk and a voice as graceful as angels singing in harmony. Oh, this is so well written. The writer here is describing the main character. All right, and that's one of the things that you should include in your first paragraph. And as we go along, they begin to describe the setting. So they're saying the main character was in the school cafeteria chowing down on the overcooked and cheap food. So by the time this paragraph is complete, we have definitely covered all the points, and that will be able to take us into paragraph 2. Yeah, so let's get this off so that we can read paragraph 2. So in this paragraph, we want to talk about what content? The rise in action. And in the rise in action, you want to put details about what happened before the climax, who was involved, and how you as a character or the writer felt within the story. All right, so let's see what this part is about. Let's read paragraph 2. I asked Leah, can you show me who is picking on you? She answered, okay, come on. She brought me to the doorway where she pointed to a tall brown-skinned boy. I said, okay, you go back to your class now. My insides turned hotter than a furnace as I furiously walked over to the boy. Just before I said anything, I recognized him. He was a standard 4 student and always gave trouble in class. His name was James, and I never liked him. In my opinion, he was the worst kid in school. I had no idea why my school took him in, but now he's got to deal with me. All right, and that is paragraph 2. So if we pull up paragraph 2's notes, we'll be able to analyze and see what we want to put into paragraph 2. And what we should include is what happened before the climax. Now the climax is the peak of your story, the highest point, the most exciting part of your short story. So what happened right before the climax should go in paragraph 2. Who was involved in whatever was going on and how you felt, right? So as we go through this paragraph, it starts off by saying, so he's interacting with his sister here, creating a dialogue, and the dialogue is well punctuated, and there's all the inverted commas, the exclamation marks, the question marks that are necessary. We will go over those things in a later episode before exam. And he's just talking to his sister to find out, who it is picking on you. And all of this is what took place before the climax. Yeah? So as we get further into the story, the sister pointed out a brown-skinned boy. So now we have the sister, Leah. We have the brother, Noah. And now we have the bully, which is James. Just before I said anything, I recognized him. He was a standard 4 student. His name was James. All right, so we highlight who was involved here. And now, if we take a step back a little bit, we will also see that the person described how they felt. My insides turned hotter than a furnace as I furiously walked over to the boy. So this is so well written. They use a simile to help describe their feeling and bring out an expression of anger. And as you read it, you can literally feel that emotion. So That is paragraph 2. We covered all the details for our content, and now we're going to get to paragraph 3. All right, so let's get these notes off, and which we'll read. So this is about the climax. I grabbed him by the shirt collar. We're going to settle this here and now, I shouted. He started screaming for help, but all the people that were in the room were people he once bullied. So instead of helping him, they all laughed at him. He quickly started to cry, but what he didn't know was I wasn't finished yet. I punched him in his mouth and threw him on the ground. We were getting lots of attention, and students started videotaping the fight. It escalated and we wound it up outside. He tried to punch me back, but I punched him back in his stomach. And that is paragraph 3. So if we take a step back to the beginning of the paragraph, we're going to analyze the content here to see what content did the writers put in. So in this paragraph, we're talking about the climax, which I was describing a short while ago. And the 3 points we want to make sure and highlight or include in paragraph 3 is you have to give information on the most exciting point. So at this point, it starts off one time with, I grabbed him by the shirt collar. Paragraph starts off with excitement, and that's the high point because the fight start one time, right? So grabbed him by the shirt collar. He started screaming for help, but all the people that were in the room were once bullied by him. So here we're just giving more details and information for what was happening, how it was like. It was a crowd it was a room with other students, and they didn't pay any mind to him getting in a fight, and they actually laughed at him. So there's a little bit of humor here, which is even more entertaining for the reader. And then they began to talk about how the boy started crying, and all of this is just details on the fight. Now, the more they describe the fight, you get kind of drawn into the setting, right? And you're beginning to kind of picture or imagine students around you, and then they talk about the fight being videotaped, and all of these things kind of appeal to our senses because these are things that we experience on a daily basis in school or wherever, where situations are happening and there's a crowd and there's people videotaping, and so here we are appealing to those senses of observing the environment. So it's like the sense of sight, the sense of hearing. You could kind of hear the crowd and the cheer and laughter. So we're appealing to the senses here to make sure that the person feels the most exciting part of your story. And we already talked about where it happened because we mentioned it started inside and it went outside. And so this was a very well written paragraph as well. That would have been paragraph 3. So as we get into paragraph 4 now, we can see we're going to describe the falling action. Now, the falling action is where we tell the reader what took place after that drama at the climax, how the main character felt, or the writer, and who or what was around. All right, so we're going to get into this and read paragraph 4. Our fight continued for some time as I was dominating my opponent. James tried to eliminate me, but I was too powerful for him. After throwing a few punches, I caught him with a kick to the floor. He turned cherry red, so I had to show mercy to his stupid and annoying face. He started telling me that he won't bully anyone again. But I didn't believe him, so I kicked him again. Everyone wanted me to fight him even more, but his nose was bleeding. And he had a black eye, so I gave him a 0.2 second break. Alright, so let's get over now to paragraph 4 and see what's taking place here. So in paragraph 4, we want to tell the reader what took place after the climax, first of all. And the first thing they began to say was, our fight continued for some time. So the fight went on for a little while, and they're getting to the point where the fight eventually was coming to an end. So as the climax was the fight starting, now the fight is slowly coming to an end, and they're just describing all the different things that happened. And as they went along describing the different events, they began to express the emotions or the feelings of the person writing, because he's saying he turned cherry red and I had to show mercy, so he kind of felt sorry for him at that point in time. You're beginning to touch into the emotions and how the writer felt. And then he went on to say he didn't believe him. So the person he was beating up was like, oh, I wouldn't do it again, I'm sorry. But he didn't believe him. So all this is tapping into how the main character felt, how Noah felt. And who was around? Everyone was around. Right? So he said everyone wanted me to fight him even more, but his nose was bleeding. So this was another well-written paragraph. And that brings us to the last paragraph. Paragraph 5. Alright, so we're gonna read paragraph 5, and this is our resolution. Alright, so let's see what happens in our resolution. Getting ready to win the battle of the school, a hush settled over the crowd. As our teacher, Mrs. Roberts, parted my victorious fight. As she came into the back of the school, we all saw the anger bursting out of her dragon-faced head. She grabbed and pulled both of us. James almost fell to the ground and slowly began walking. I had an evil smile on my face. Mrs. Roberts carried us to the office, where we both explained our sides to the very abusive story. Mrs. Roberts didn't know who to believe because all the witnesses told her that I was in the right, while James's face was all bloody and messed up. She called and told our parents what happened and suspended both of us for 2 weeks. Although my parents didn't get upset with me because I was defending my baby sister. And that is the end of the big fight. So let's just analyze that paragraph, that last paragraph there. And in this paragraph, we want to be detailed about describing how the story ended, who was involved in the end, and how you felt after everything. So in the end, describing how the story ended, they went on to talk about the fight finally coming to an end when Mrs. Roberts showed up, and she grabbed them and she pulled them off each other. They even described how the teacher's expression was. They said they saw anger bursting out of her dragon-faced head. So she was so angry, it was like fire coming out of her head. And it's a very good description there to draw the reader in a little more. So all this is describing what went on, who was involved. So we now have the teacher involved, the fighters, the students, and right, James almost fell. So here I had an evil smile on my face. That highlights point 3, how you felt after everything. So fight done, fight part, and now time to go in your office and get in trouble. You feeling good because you win the fight, or Noah is feeling good because he won the fight. So they continued by just describing how the story wrapped up, So they both explained their sides to the abusive story. Mrs. Roberts didn't know who to believe because all the witnesses told her that I was in the right. So here we're just showing how it wrapped up, and in the end, they called the parents and told them what happened. They both got suspended, and the writer just had to chuck in there that he didn't really get in trouble from his parents. No, I didn't get in trouble because he was defending his baby sister. Alright, so this, my friends, brings us to the end of our creative writing episode for today. The big fight. So you can check out this story in our video from yesterday. We have the full video of the story. You can share it with your friends. And if you haven't done it as yet, hit that subscribe button because you have successfully made it through the whole video, and that means you're committed to preparing for SCA 2021. Alright, so thank you very much for joining me. It was a lot of fun. Next time we're going to get into some other parts of what they're looking for. Today was all about content for your creative writing stories. So thanks again for watching. This is your boy Andre, and I will see you tomorrow.
SEA Today.